Tuesday, March the 6th, 2018, to you. For today's letter, I had intended to write about the National People's Congress annual session recently opened in Beijing. However, the ongoing Skripal affair made me change my mind. The whole episode threatens to embitter relations between London and Moscow even further. On Sunday the 4th, 66-year-old former Russian spy Mr. Sergei Skripal and his daughter Julia were exposed to an unknown substance and found unconscious at a shopping mall in the city of Salisbury, Wiltshire, in southern England. Mr. Skripal, a former GRU, Russia's military intelligence service officer, had been arrested by Russia's Federal Security Service (FSB) in 2004 on suspicion of betraying dozens of Russian agents to Britain's MI6 in return of money. He was sentenced to 13 years in prison 2 years later after a secret trial, though he was pardoned in 2010 by then President Mr. Dmitry Medvedev as part of a swap to bring 10 Russian agents, including Miss Anna Chapman, held in the United States, back to Moscow. Mr. Skripal had been living modestly in Salisbury ever since, until he was found unconscious on Sunday at 16 hours 15 minutes UTC. Currently, both him and his daughter remained seriously ill. The incident quickly reminded the case of Mr. Alexander Litvinenko, a Russian ex-spy who was murdered in 2006 after his tea was packed with radioactive polonium-210 at London's Millennium Hotel. In 2016, a British judge ruled that President Mr. Vladimir Putin probably approved the murder, though the Kremlin dismissed the inquiry as a farce. First and foremost, I found Mr. Boris Johnson's statements on that matter too ridiculous. The UK Foreign Secretary told the House of Commons that Russia is a maligned and disruptive force. If Moscow were shown to be behind Mr. Skripal's illness, he said, it would be difficult to see how UK representation could go to the World Cup in Russia in a normal way. PM spokesman Mr. James Slack later said, though, that Mr. Johnson meant attendance of ministers or dignitaries instead of players. Personally, I have never seen Britain so weak. Indeed, I cannot avoid comparing Mr. Johnson's attitude with that of Jordan's King Hussein when Hamas leader Khaled Mashal was poisoned by Israeli Mossad agents in September 1997. Back then, King Hussein even threatened to void the Israeli-Jordan peace agreement if Israel did not turn over the antidote, which was Jerusalem did. Mr. Johnson should have reminded Russia that Britain's nuclear weapons located in Shetland Island are the West's closest ones to Russia's territory. A crazy move? Perhaps it is, but Russian agents must understand that they cannot expect to undertake such special operations in the UK without penalty. Of course, it could be that Russia was not involved in the incident at all. Kremlin's spokesperson, Mr. Dmitry Peskov, denied any participation of Moscow in that episode. Mr. Peskov also told that Russian government is prepared to help with the investigation. Personally, I'm not blaming anybody. I should warn Moscow, though, that a strange syndrome is affecting Russian former spies in some Western countries. If I were Mr. Putin, I would be worried indeed. The world is still on.